Welcome to the Wanted Project podcast. Happy to introduce you to my friend Amy.
Hi, my name is Amy, and this is my contribution to the Wanted Project podcast. So, I guess I kind of consider this as like the It Gets Better campaign for lesbians and gender non-conforming females. So basically, I'm going to be talking about myself, but I'm going to try not to make this like a narcissistic sort of navel gazing, like this is me, this is what I do, and isn't this great, and more try to connect, what I do in my life now and my life experiences to a broader sort of message about thriving, about how we can thrive as gender non-conforming females, and how we can kind of be there for each other, and to know that there's a lot of us out there, and that you're loved, and that you're wanted, and there's a lot of different ways to be yourself, and I kind of want to present my experience with that. So, like I said, my name is Amy. I live in St. Paul, Minnesota. I'm originally from New Jersey. I live here with my partner of 7 years, and we stereotypically have, 2 dogs and a cat, and we're very, very into our pets. You know how that goes. So, and that's basically my day to day. I'm not going to talk too much about the Michigan Women's Music Festival. It was the most important, probably, influence on me personally. But I feel like you really had to be there to understand it, and I'm not going to really get into an explanation. I want to move forward with other projects for females to sort of embrace ourselves. So I guess I'll start chronologically with my childhood, and we'll kind of, build up from there. I was always, a tomboy, a really masculine butch child. I was mistaken for a boy all the time. My family hated it. Whenever I would get mistaken for a boy, I really didn't care. I didn't see what the big deal was. So what if someone thought you were the opposite gender? I didn't really think it was the end of the world, but my parents were very embarrassed, and they've come a long way, and they would never admit to it now, but it was very difficult for them. And I think if I had grown up in this generation, I don't know if they would have considered to raise me as a female. I don't know what would have been worse for me, is them trying to enforce female socialization on me, or actually transitioning me into something that I'm not. Anyway, so it was never, when I look back on it, I don't think it was ever really about, wanting to be a boy. It was very much about recognizing, the mobility and privilege and freedoms that boys had and girls weren't allowed to have. I didn't have the language for that, I didn't read, I wasn't reading feminist literature at 10 years old, so I didn't really have the language for that. But looking back on that now, I think that's really what it was, is I was just rejecting the way I was being socialized. And it kind of came out as, wanting the world to see me as a boy. So now, I live in the Midwest and I look like this, and surprisingly, I get sirred a lot less out here, because this is your typical Midwestern farmer woman. This is basically what they all look like. So I can't even tell when someone's a lesbian out here. So you think being in the Midwest, they're a little more conservative and they would have more stricter gender roles. They actually kind of don't. Straight women look like men all the time out here. It's really weird. But when I am occasionally sirred, I don't care. I don't even really correct the person. Usually when I open my mouth to speak and they realize that I'm a female, they get very embarrassed, and they're very apologetic, and I don't really understand, I don't understand. I guess I do understand why that is, but I just basically end up feeling bad for them. Yeah, like I said, that's not really a problem for me. I think who I am, like anybody, who we are, is very very much connected to the time period in history where we had kind of formative years. So when I was in high school, it still was not okay to be out. Nobody was out. I think we all kind of knew who the gay kids were, but you weren't allowed to say anything. Fast forward a few years later to college, and now all of a sudden it's like cool to be gay or to be lesbian identified or things like that. People questioning their assigned sex or questioning their assigned gender, like that really wasn't. It was just sort of starting, but it wasn't kind of mainstream out there. So basically. In college, when I was introduced to, feminist literature and theory, plus coming out as gay, there really wasn't, people weren't really questioning those things. So for me, that's kind of where I became basically a gender atheist. Instead of this idea that there are several genders to choose from, and you can pick which one you want to be, and that's your identity. For me, it just shouldn't exist. Gender shouldn't exist at all. It's a pretty simple idea, and I was just never able to wrap my mind around choosing which gender you want to be when it's an institution that we just shouldn't have it. And I think it's very conservative to try to insist that everybody has a gender. What the fuck? No, we don't. It's like saying everybody has a unicorn. Like, it just doesn't exist. So, this is a time where I kind of made, my formative kind of identity and how I understand myself. So what this means for me now is I don't really feel connected as a peoplehood, as a tribe, so to speak, with gay people or necessarily queer people. Like, I don't feel like, gays are my people, like Stonewall is my history. I really don't feel that way. I feel much more of a kindred tribal connection with other females. These are the people that I share a history and a peoplehood with. All, straight women, whatever, female children, anybody who's really female, and even in my priorities and who I vote, like, I don't, as far as voting goes, like, I don't give a shit who, lawsuit over who won't make cupcakes for whose wedding. I just don't care when, we have things that affect me as a female, even though I don't have sex with men. Abortion and birth control are basically my most important political issues that affects me as a member of the female class, that has more direct consequences for me than anything than gay marriage or expanding, any sorts of employment rights or whatever. It just doesn't, for me, those things, it's not that they don't matter, it's just they're just not a priority for me personally and politically. So, needless to say, like, I don't go to Pride. I don't really feel a part of that culture whatsoever. And so that's basically my history and kind of how I came to have the opinions that I have and the outlook on life that I have. I want to kind of talk about my life now and the things that are important to me and the things that I do. I'm hoping, in a way, I want to kind of give an image of just, my personal growth and how I came to how I currently navigate the world as a gender non-conforming female and the things that I do to make me happy and fulfilled. So I have too many hobbies, and I'm good at none of them. Is basically what it comes down to. I play guitar and I write songs. I'm really into learning Semitic foreign languages. That would be Hebrew and Arabic. My partner is Israeli, so I have someone to practice with, and I really like this feeling of being this kind of, Indiana Jones, like deciphering this old ancient text and stuff like that. So I do that, and but the thing that takes up most of my time is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. When I'm not at work, I'm basically training Jiu-Jitsu, and if you don't know what that is, it's basically a grappling or like a wrestling sort of form of martial arts. So I can try. I don't have a video of me doing it because I'm pretty self-conscious about people seeing it. So I'll just show you my gi here. And as you can see, I'm still a white belt, which means I'm really not that great at it. It's something that, like everything in life, I kind of do it at my own pace. Everyone I train with, almost everyone, is male and about 10 years older than me and a lot thinner than me. So I have, I guess what you can consider several disadvantages when I show up every day. So I just kind of try to do my best, but I mean, and I'm hoping to, eventually someday, I'd like to maybe teach, a women's self-defense course or do something to make this very practical, because there's no striking. It's just basically using leverage of people's bodies in order to choke them or get an arm bar or a leg lock or some sort of submission where they either can't breathe or they're in pain. They can't move. It's all a controlled atmosphere, so there's nothing like sadistic about it. But with this specific sport, this has made me feel more connected to my body than really anything else I've done. So as far as the gender dysphoria that I still carry, even though I've read all the theory and all this stuff, and I've worked in my internalized misogyny and all this, blah, 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 you still always carry it with you a little bit. But this sport gets me more in my body than anything else I've ever done. It's the most difficult thing physically I've ever done. And the way I can push myself to get my body to do things, I'm just constantly surprised at the things I can do. I'll drill something for like a month or something and finally be able to pull it off on some big dude or whoever and just be like, wow, I could do that, So that's, I would say for anyone who's experiencing gender dysphoria, I wouldn't make any suggestions on who should or should not transition. I don't know anything about that. But if you can find a way to get into your body physically and just intellectually, the way something like martial arts does, that has given me just the confidence to be in the body that I'm in more than any other thing. And so, I'm hoping to continue that, hoping I don't get, plowed over by some 25-year-old, muscle Hulk or whatever one day. That probably won't happen, but I don't know. So, I'm just basically, I just work a job that's whatever. But this is, these are my goals, and this is kind of what I do. And I'm hoping in this video I was able to present an image of, of a different kind of life, of somebody that walks through the world looking like this and dealing with the assumptions that people kind of make. And as I get older, I kind of give a shit less about that. And I was able to, I didn't really get into some of the more difficult things, but, I was able to sort of find a way to be in my body and to live a fulfilling life, feeling isolated from gay and queer culture. And feeling isolated from mainstream culture a lot of times because, people that look like this can be threatening depending on who you're talking to. And finding a way to deal with my dysphoria and finding also creative outlets for myself and finding a wonderful partner and little child pets, you know. So, yeah, I hope I was able to sort of to give an image of that. And if you're out there, you're loved and you're wanted, and just be yourself. You'll find it. You'll find your way.
Thanks, Amy, for submitting your video. If you're interested in participating in the Wanted Project podcast, please check out wantedpodcast.com and find out what it takes to participate. We'd love to have you. And remember, you are wanted, you are loved, and we want you to know it.
Mothers and daughters, women born women, and we gather in the light of the August moon. Amazon women, and we're out in the woods, and we heal by the light of the August moon. Deaf women, hearing women, dancing in the light of the August moon. Girls and women in the Michigan woods, and we love by the light of the August moon. First time I came to festival, learned I'd always been afraid. To finally lay that burden down, I could not believe the way